Yes, everybody, and welcome back to another daily drop brought to you by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, very own publisher Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for the second part of our, I'm going to call it, what's the loudest we've ever been or seen a Carolina basketball game. And now we're talking about what's the loudest we've ever seen a Carolina football game. I'm trying to think of a unique way we could maybe phrase these since they're kind of a package deal, but I can't honestly think of anything right now, but put my own self on the spot. Maybe I'll dream something up.
Since we don't cover any other sports there, just say that the loudest home games in each sport that we cover.
Yeah, loudest home games of each sport, football and basketball. It's a very interesting topic. We did a basketball one where we kind of talked about that one. We'll be focusing on football on this one. And for discretion, this is a very organic podcast. I don't know what AJ is going to say. He doesn't know what I'm going to say.
No clue.
So I'm very interested. You guys are going to be hearing as we do because we have no idea what's about to be said right now. So AJ, I'll kick it to you. Obviously, you've covered more games than Kenan. I've been going to Carolina football games for a long time, so I do think I can talk a little bit more on this one in terms of a bigger sample size than basketball, just because I haven't been in the Smith Center as much going back to when I was younger. So let me ask you this. What is the loudest you've ever heard Kenan? Or maybe give me a few that stand out, and then you can give me your number one. I'll let you kind of organically figure out how
What would you prefer? What would you prefer?
Give me a few and then pick your number one. Let's do that. Give me a few, then pick number one. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Now I got to go a few. So I would think the Khalif Mitchell forced fumble against T.A. McClendon in 2004.
Yep.
That was a loud moment. Connor Barth's field goal the same year to beat Miami.
Mm-hmm.
That was very, very loud. Ironic. That's a long time ago. They were bunting games. I think when Texas took the field in 2003,
it's a good shot.
The chorus of boos at Mac and the Longhorns was pretty piercing. These are a while ago now. I think the Cohen Sturdivant pick six against Notre Dame in 2008 was pretty piercing. I'm trying to think of what others. A lot of them are kind of a while ago. I'm trying to think of some recent ones. Daz Newsom's touchdown against Miami.
Yeah, that was probably the loudest. That was
probably. I would say that was up there. I would say that was probably the loudest of the Mac era for sure. It's too bad that 20 didn't have home games. I mean, didn't have crowds at the home games, because I think that there were a few in that season that could have been some pretty good buzzes. The way they beat Virginia Tech that year. Last year would have been interesting if it wasn't raining and it had a regular crowd there for Virginia Tech.
The Duke game, Chaz Surratt pick was pretty loud too.
The Chaz Surratt pick was very loud.
I was on the field for that one. That was a loud game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of in between stuff, like when Larry was there.
AJ, you haven't said my number one yet.
You
haven't said my number one
return.
Yep.
Gio's punt return. When Tom O'Brien, remember I was covering state back then too, and we're at the Tom O'Brien presser during the week, and he kind of alluded to, well, we don't want to let that guy beat us, and then he punted to him anyway, and he beat him. So
I'll never forget how mad he was.
It reminded me of Carl Torbush in, was it 99 or 2000? They were going to play Florida State at home, and Peter Warwick was just the talk of college football. And Bunning said that week, and I cannot do a NASCAR voice at all, but we're not going to punt to that boy. We're not going to punt to that kid. No way. We're not going to let him beat us. And then what do they do in the first quarter? They punt to him, and he returns 2 touchdowns. Punts for a touchdown.
Just like, come on, man.
Come on, NASCAR. So that wasn't loud.
Yeah, I can imagine. Quietest game in Kenan.
Yeah, Gio, Daz, Chaz. Yeah, the Connor Barth, the Khalif Mitchell play. Those are up there. Those are all up there. It's some pretty big time moments in Kenan Stadium. Not the same
Florida
level
State
as in basketball.
Back in '97, was that loud coming out of the tunnel?
97, yeah, they lost that game. But I would say when they came out of the tunnel, that was the most electrifying Kenan's ever been when the Tar Heels have come out of the tunnel, for sure. That was the best pregame buzz I've ever experienced there. They had to turn back like 5,000 students that game. And that was Judgment Day in college football. And Game Day was there. ESPN Game Day was there. They were in that little corner over there, sort of right next to what was then called the Alamo, which is now is. Yeah. So, that was.
So what's your number one?
My number one is Connor Barth.
Okay.
when they beat Miami, which is really weird because a lot of Carolina fans wanted them to just lose and get it over with the fire bunting. But that win, the way that game played out, they played really, really well that night. And there's that myth that Dawn Bunting, John's wife, the night before, walked around the field sprinkling crap on it to give them some kind of good vibe. Yeah, I don't know. He says it's kind of true, but I think he's having some fun with
whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Dawn Bunting to do that, to have done that at that time. And the thing about it is, and one of my buddies in the media, I'm not going to name him, swears he was standing next to Dick Bedour on the field. And when the ball went through and they won the game, Bedour called someone and said something like, hold off on that. He believes that they were going to fire Bunting the next day if they didn't win that game, which I don't know if I believe that. I don't think they were going to. They eventually did fire him in the middle of the season 2 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And he agreed to stay on and coach, which was really weird. One of the strangest things I've ever seen. Talking to him outside the locker rooms in the football center, knowing that you're not going to be back. You were fired, but you're still there.
Yeah, weird.
You know, it was really kind of weird. It wasn't like a guy retiring. And he was like, hey, we're going to go out and his post-game, his presser at Duke. Anybody wants to write a book? I'm looking for a writer. I mean, that was just wild stuff back then, Carolina football. But as far as Loud goes, it was that one.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, though.
Good shout.
And you could find that on YouTube because the fans stormed the field and it was full and it was a buzz throughout the night. It was a great game. Chad Scott had a big game for Carolina that night. He was a Kentucky transfer running back. The NC State game was the Madison Hedgecock game where he was awesome that night. He was fullback before Bunting curiously moved him to defensive end. Madison won a Super Bowl, by the way, with the Giants.
Yeah, he did.
So that was the night when Khalif Mitchell popped T.A. McClendon, forced a fumble at the goal line, and that's what ended the game. And there's long been debate whether or not that was a fumble, whether he fumbled before he crossed the goal line or after the ball crossed the goal line. I personally think it was just before. And I was covering both schools at the time, and it was really fascinating to get the tales from both sides.
Yeah.
So that maybe that game should be redebated at some point.
It'd be interesting.
There's got to be some really good video. It's like a Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
I keep hoping that there's like someone else has video.
Yeah, somebody's got some tape somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe there'll be some other kind of video of that fumble. We could get full disclosure on whether or not it was the right call or not.
Yeah, fascinating. Just awesome. Just stands out in Carolina.
Gio was really big. Gio was really big. I don't know why Connor stands out. Maybe because it was more shocking.
Probably could be.
The 2012 team was good. That was a really good game, and it was a more electrifying play for sure. But I think the Barth one just still stands out to me more.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. For me, it's the Gio game. That's the loudest game I've experienced in Kenan. And it may not be close. And the reason I say it's not close for me is because I wasn't in the stands for those Notre Dame or Miami games. Or if I was too young to remember it in the first place. So I'm pretty sure I wasn't there. But for me, the Gio one stood out because of it was so incredibly loud. And I know it was it was a weird season for Carolina. I know that was kind of Fedora's first year. Gio had such a good year that year. And the way that they beat State really needed that win in a lot of ways. And Larry Fedora's first year, I think it kind of put a little bit more belief back into the program. And to do it in that way, especially with the guy who's having such a good year for Carolina, I think was just icing on the cake. And the one thing I always remember about that game is Tom O'Brien going to his kicker or punter after that and just berating the kid. AJ, you covered what happened. Was he not supposed to punt to him? Do you actually know what was supposed to happen in that game?
Punt away and maybe not with as much hang time. I don't really know. I like TOB.
Kick it out of bounds.
I like covering him. Maybe kick it out of bounds, or just kick it away.
Yeah, they kicked it right to him, in a lot of ways. I just always thought that was interesting because it seemed like he wasn't supposed to do that.
As far as I recall, this is 11 years ago. As far as I recall, we never really got
that's what I thought.
It was a healthy explanation for what happened there. TOB did not dump on his kids to the media.
Mm-hmm.
He really didn't. And he kind of avoided a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. When he was in a good mood, he was great. And he was really,
bad
he
mood.
was,
Sucked.
he used to invite us up to the office after they would scrimmage like in August, and he'd give us stats. That was pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Mac, hint, Mac.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, no, wink, Mac, and maybe put that into your.
But Tob didn't. He would say a lot without saying a lot. Sometimes he didn't really get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah,
so I don't recall getting the full story on that. But yeah, that was. I agree with you on what that meant. The previous time State was there was that Russell? Was that the 1 yard Hail Mary?
Probably was.
Yeah, that was the 1 yard Hail Mary, I think.
Yeah, the 1 yard Hail Mary, which was just a devastating way to lose that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, they needed to win that game. State was flexing
all navy, chrome helmets. Just a big.
Yeah, that was the darker chrome.
I think it was the first time they ever wore chrome, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was like a navy blue chrome.
Yeah, and it was a sweet. I remember it was a sweet uniform, sweet helmet for that game. I know it.
Yeah, but it's one you don't want to
just
wear
from
too
that
often.
was there. Yeah.
Well, and I think with that one too. Now that we're going to go down that hole, I think that was a really important call for Jones Angel because he had replaced Woody, and it's so hard to replace a legend. And Jones calls a different game than Woody did, and Jones's call on that return to me is iconic as well.
Oh yeah,
that fantastic. And I think it really nudged him in to the heartstrings of because Woody was part of the heartstrings. You hear people even now, you see him now on Twitter in a tight game, go where you go and do what you do, which is what Woody used to say. And I think Jones really kind of stepped into that job with that call. It's a beautiful call. It's a tremendous call. He does really, really good work. He's a good guy. And here he still is calling Carolina games. And one day someone will have to replace him, and it will be a similar task that he had replacing Woody. But I think that call is one of the most important of his career, not just because of the magnitude of the play, but because when he got to make that call. And if any Carolina fan hears that call now, if you don't see the video, but you hear the call, you can envision Gio's run exactly as it happened.
Oh yeah. And
so that's part of it.
I was sat, and my dad still has tickets here, funny enough. Visitor side, well, I guess it's behind the visitor bench, but if you're looking at the visitor side, if you're looking at that side of the stadium, the upper left-hand corner, that upper deck, the front row there, right kind of in the corner where the touchdown was scored to. So just to be in that atmosphere and to see it and experience like I did was amazing. But I'll throw this one in, AJ. And I think you mentioned this one too, the 29-24 win over Notre Dame for Carolina back in, 2008, I believe, in Kenan, October 2008 in Kenan. I've heard from multiple people who've been going to Carolina games for a while that one competes and was the loudest. I think people I've talked to, I think still put Gio as the highest that they've seen it. But I've heard it from a lot of people that was an incredibly loud experience and one of the best atmospheres in Kenan as a whole too. I've heard that from a multitude of people. So I had to throw that one in. I'll throw one in as well in terms of pregame atmosphere. I know Carolina lost this game, but this is a game that always stands out to me, was the 0 Dark 30 game back in 2013, maybe. You remember the game? It was a Thursday night game. They were all black.
Oh, yeah.
Florida State was who they played. Was it Florida State?
Yeah.
That one, in terms of a pregame atmosphere and just the buzz going into it, the spectacle around it was really, I think they had a flyover that game too, which they used to do all the time and don't do anymore. So it was always really cool. That pregame atmosphere for me, I think I was like a junior, senior in high school, always stands out as a game I remember. I know they won the game that Carolina ended up winning, but that was a really, really good atmosphere before and during the game. Yeah,
the 08 game against Notre Dame, that was a big part of the optimism there, was about arrival of the program, was about Butch's process taking form. And I think the basketball one was, we were talking about that with basketball. It was Marvin's putback about how that satisfied this emotional need to be back to where they were. Well, I think the Notre Dame one and the pick six early in the second half was sort of that, oh my gosh, this is really starting to happen. And let's face it, had the crap not occurred, or never been found out about, 2010 could have been a special year. That's what was building toward that. Now, Notre Dame was not a vintage team that year at all.
Carolina
but it was
was
still
ranked
Notre Dame.
going into that game. Yeah. I don't think Notre Dame
But
was.
go ahead and look at Carolina's all-time win-loss record against Notre Dame, and then you'll see how that game stands out even more. And it was an important step forward in that process. It never ultimately materialized, but that's one of the reasons why that game had such a great pregame buzz, in-game buzz, and it peaked. That and also the Cam Sexton touchdown.
Yeah.
That game where he went airborne and scored. I think that was pretty wild too. So that game had a lot of high moments for sure.
Yeah. Looking at the stat line of that game, I got it pulled up. Notre Dame outgained Carolina by 150 yards, but Notre Dame had 6 turnovers. Carolina had 0. Just amazing. See, I forgot of the Notre Dame had so many turnovers. I don't even know if I actually watched that game because I think I was in a soccer
that was Jimmy
tournament that weekend.
Jimmy Clausen was their quarterback.
Yeah, Clausen, yeah.
Jimmy Clausen was quarterback.
Yeah, and I think I had a soccer tournament that game because I know my dad and my brother, I think, were there, but I was not. And that for that reason, I think. So I don't even think I got to watch that game. Definitely seen the highlights since, but I remember calling my dad after and talking to him about it. And, just he was telling me it was just a crazy, crazy electric atmosphere in there. And I've heard that from multiple Carolina fans as well. But yeah, that game.
One of my memories. I have to share this. And anybody who knew Tucker Carlson, excuse me, Tucker McLaughlin.
Yeah, Tucker McLaughlin. Yeah,
rest in peace. Peasy. That's not going to go over well. Tucker McLaughlin, who died in April. One of my favorite people ever in the business. Tucker had been sick with brain cancer for a while. Tucker was okay with these stories, but that was a game where early in the third quarter, Tucker fell asleep.
Oh, was that the fell asleep game? I've heard that one. That's fantastic.
And with a plate of food in front of him, and Notre Dame writer was sitting in between us. Tucker was on the end, Notre Dame writer, and then me. And the Notre Dame guy says, "Does this happen often?" I say, "Every game."
That's fantastic. And people who know Tucker, they appreciate that.
By the
story,
way,
man.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Tucker, man.
I love Tucker to death, and so many people did and still do and always will. And Tucker's stories are a part of being in the media. So,
oh yeah, South Boston legend, man. Legend where he's from. Just an absolute legend, celebrity.
I was covering a UConn Duke game, and he woke up early in the second quarter, and I say it like it was common, all the way in the far left of the press box, and all of a sudden you hear this noise. It sounded like a bear coming out of hibernation. It was Tucker waking up. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Say these.
We could do a separate podcast on. But
it's all in love. Tucker loved the stories and loved the camaraderie and the brotherhood in the media. And
no doubt.
I never met a person that said a bad thing about him.
Yeah,
about who he was as a person.
Yeah, great guy. He even gave me an opportunity early on in my young journalism career to write for him and cover some NIT games for him and stuff for I think state games for him in the NIT is what I'm referring to, and some other games I covered as well. I can't remember, but yeah, just forever thankful for that because those are cool experiences. Still got the media passes from those games. Cool experiences for me as a young guy trying to break into the business a little bit. So,
can I do 2 other quick Tucker stories?
Throw them out, man.
There are no rules here. We can do what we want.
Throw them out.
Anybody who knew Tucker knew that he used to call people big dog or big turkey. Big dog and big turkey, right? So 2009, the day of the national championship game basketball, we're at Ford Field in Detroit, long before the title game. Tucker was an Orioles fan. So they're playing on opening day on TV, and we're watching TV in the press room. And the TV was situated so there's a big doorway out into the media concourse that was wide open. It was like the double doors. It was open. So Tucker and I are sitting there watching the Orioles, and Pete Gillen walks by, former Virginia coach who was doing, I guess, radio at the time. He walks by, and all of a sudden you see him come back because he saw Tucker was there. And I'll try to do this in my best Pete Gillen accent, but he comes in, comes up to Tucker because Tucker's from Virginia, says, "Hey, Big Tucky," and just starts talking to Tucker, right? So then Frank Beamer's last ACC kickoff, it's in Pinehurst Country Club, right?
Oh,
I'm talking,
awesome.
Tucker pulls me aside, "Hey, dog, got a question for you." So I'm talking to Tucker, and here comes Frank Beamer, and Tucker didn't see him coming because he was behind Tucker. Beamer's with somebody talking. As he passes by, he leans in, he goes, "Hey, big dog," and keeps going. That tells you everything you need to know about how people felt about Tucker.
Yeah, man, just a legend, man. Rest in peace to Tucker. Man, just sad news with how the unfortunate the last couple of years were with health and brain cancer and everything like that. But Just a great guy, man. I'm glad you brought. Like I said, we could do a separate podcast on Tucker stories, the infamous Notre Dame trip, but we might get demonetized if we do that. So we probably don't want to go there. Yeah, we don't want to. We probably don't want to go down that rabbit hole because we could probably. I've heard a lot. 2 hours.
This is for Brett Friedlander, Jonas Pope, and Bruce Young. I kind of hit it some.
And I know it, AJ. I've been blessed to hear the story on the way to Atlanta a couple years ago with AJ, man. It one you never forget if you ever hear it, man. It's fantastic. It's almost like a movie. It should be a movie. Someone should make a movie out of it.
We should have a media get together, and especially those of us that were on that trip, tell that story sometime.
God, it's great.
I told her in the press room of the ACC tournament. Gosh, 2016 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to joke and say it's 26 minutes or 2 beers.
Yeah, 100%. It's a great.
When I started telling this story, I had like 5 people around me, and this is a true story. By the time I got toward the end, there are like 20 people around.
Yeah, it's like a freaking audience, man. I mean, exactly, because it's that great, it's that unbelievable. It should legitimately be a movie, and if it was, I think people would watch it and love it because it would be just great. We used to say if someone really wanted to have an amazing show, just get a camera and follow Tucker around. Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%, man.
Just follow him around.
One of a kind, AJ, and I'll leave it at that. I think that sums up Tucker.
Taylor Zarzour called me from Tucker's car one time. They covered a basketball game at Duke, and Taylor's car didn't start. And or he was out of gas or something. And Tucker was going to tell you, I'll take you to get some gas, dog. And Tucker got out of the car to get something. Taylor called me and says, AJ, I'm in Tucker's car. Holy SHIQ, I'm in Tucker's car. I'm going to call you out because my car broke down. He's going to get me some gas. I'll call you after I get gas.
God, that's
because he got like that was a forbidden zone, man. Tucker's car.
He had to call you and let you know.
And if Taylor Zarzour ever hears this, he'll start cracking up and remember exactly what I'm talking about. That's the great Taylor Zarzour, by the way.
Yeah.
SEC football and golf. He's the golf stud.
Yeah, man. Big time guy. Former THI, right? Was he at THI?
No. He had local radio in Raleigh.
Local radio, excuse me.
And then Charlotte, he replaced Mark Packer at Charlotte. I used to go on his show a lot, and I used to fill in for him as co-host a lot when he wasn't doing it.
Love that. That's amazing. We could sit here and talk about Tucker all the time. Like I said, stories for days. Stories for absolutely.
Honestly,
yeah.
It comes from a good place.
100%. It always does. Everybody that knows him, everybody's in the media. You know, there's a lot of people that really cared about him and appreciated what he brought to the media room because one of a kind guy. And I'll just leave it at that. I think that sums up Tucker in a perfect.
Rest in peace, my
sentence.
friend.
Yeah, rest in peace, man. Rest in peace to a great guy. AJ, we'll wrap it up, man. Wrap this episode, the Daily Drop up. Let us know what your loudest game in Kenan is. I think a lot of people are going to throw that state game. I'm interested to see for people at that Notre Dame game if that stands out. Maybe even going back further, guys have been going to Carolina games since the 70s or 80s. Any back then that maybe stand out, let us know. You can get involved on our Twitter, links below to our Facebook and our Twitter. Get involved over there if you want to, or just come over to our premium message board. We post every single content item as a premium message board item. You can get involved in the message boards there and let us know your loudest games and your takes. If you agree with us, go ahead and like this video below and looking forward to hearing from some Carolina fans regarding this topic. I think it's going to be a fun one and a interesting one for Carolina fans to go back in memory lane and think about a little bit. So appreciate y'all watching as always. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones, another episode of the Daily Drop. If you're enjoying them, like I said, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know every single time we upload. See you on the next one. Thanks.